Kindness. We see it all around us. We see it when someone pays for someone else's coffee or holds the door open for another person. We see it in the smallest of gestures, like a smile or a kind word. But it's different when we turn on the news or social media. Oftentimes, what we hear about, what outlets are pushing, is the opposite of kind. Welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. Our goal is to give you a place to relax, to revel in stories of people who have received or given kindness, a place to inspire and motivate each and every one of us to practice kindness every day. Hello and welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. I am your host, Mike Rathbun. And, we talk a lot on this show about kindness, obviously, it's in the name, but also random acts of kindness. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I was thinking, what are random acts of kindness, but really gifts that we give to one another, to others? And who better to talk about gifts than the Better Gift Coach? And that's why my guest today is Patrick Kucharson.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me.
Right?
You got it right. Yes. Well done.
Doing a little happy dance over here. Nailed it. Patrick, tell us a little bit. Okay, so it's a newsletter. Is that right?
That's correct. That's the current iteration of Better Gift Coach. It's a free weekly newsletter that's a 1 minute a week shortcut to always having the best gifts ideas well in advance.
And that really undersells it, because I was reading through, and I did sign up. I'll tell you that. But I don't know if it's coming to my email. I have to go in and check, because I think it may have gotten rerouted. I haven't seen one yet. And I know you just had a new one come out, I think.
Yeah. So we every Tuesday at 11 a.m.
Okay, 2 days ago.
So depending on what day you subscribed, I wouldn't be unfortunately terribly surprised if that first email might have went to your promotions or maybe even your spam inbox. So it's always
promotions.
Best to just
I forgot about that one. Yep. So now in your newsletters and on your website, and I'll have the link in the show notes. And if you guys are curious about what this is all about, I definitely would recommend going and checking it out. But there are so many, because I think, like many people, I've gotten kind of lazy with my gift giving. Is that normal as we age?
Well, it certainly happened to me, and that was actually the origins of Better Gift Coach. Is I needed to improve my own gift giving. I came to this realization moment that I just was more or less phoning it in at this point in my life with married, 2 kids, job, etc.
Guilty.
So yeah, we've all been guilty. So don't feel too bad about it.
And so you said, I really need to up my gift giving game. And where did you go from there? Did you sought out advice and you went, hey?
Yeah, I guess I should add a more humorous part of the story. So my wife makes this really goofy, delightful face when I surprise her with an amazing gift. And, we had been together for almost a decade, and I was just seeing less and less of that face in the gifts that I was giving her. So I went on my own personal journey to be a better gift giver, because I figured, hey, I don't have a ton of time, but there has to be some shortcuts for a busy person like me to give better gifts. And so what I started doing, more just naturally than anything, less not exactly intentional, just more naturally, I was talking to people and asking, hey, what's the best gift that you've ever given or received? And I started cataloging all these stories, and these stories, some of them were, absolutely amazing. And it got me thinking, like, hey, I can recreate this gift for, my wife or someone else in my life. I could do this.
Sure.
And that's what led to the newsletter, where I was just like, hey, what if I put together a really short newsletter that takes someone a minute or two to read, that just shares one of these stories of the best gifts that someone has ever received or given, and then provides a little bit of my own thoughts and guidance on how someone can go about replicating that gift. So that's the origins of Better Gift Coach.
Okay. And yeah, it's not just, I mean, the newsletters are not just, okay, here's a gift or here's an idea that somebody had or somebody got this gift and that's it. There's a lot of other stuff. You talk about why it's a practical gift or why it's a good gift, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just, and I could go on because there are a ton of, here's one, Dr. Seuss, A Child's Gift. And that is so much fun.
Yeah, we had fun with that one. That's actually my own gift. So it wasn't my original idea. I did see another parent do this, but for my son's 4th birthday this year, we created a children's book with him as the main character, with setting and a storyline that he'd be really familiar with.
Oh, cool! That's really cool. And I mean, that's relatively. I mean, here I am, Mr. Frugal, right? But that's not expensive to do, is it?
No, it wasn't at all. I mean, that's and we got it professionally printed and everything. And my guess is it's like a $30 print job, if that.
Right.
And you could obviously be a little bit more budget friendly and how you go about creating that book. It's really just time and thought that went into writing the storyline and then creating the imagery.
Sure. Yeah, I've got an anniversary coming up next month. I'm lost. I have absolutely no idea. It's been 14 years. Like, you're Googling anniversary gift, 14th anniversary, right? I don't know. But yeah, these are the kinds of things that you do. And I think it's such a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, I guarantee if you go back to, whether you have an anniversary coming up, we don't know when, but, if you subscribe, which you did, and just get into the email forces you to get into what I call like the gift brainstorming zone every week, which most people don't naturally do. There's some people out there who are just naturally good gift givers. It gives them energy. Some people would say that gift giving is their love language. That's not me. Doesn't sound like it's you either.
Yeah.
And that's okay. There are shortcuts and for people like you and I, and that's what the newsletter is trying to create.
Yeah, it's so there's one in there you talk about. Was it the crossword puzzle?
Yeah,
that was a great gift idea.
I know, and so many of so I have a great community now of subscribers. So there's thousands of subscribers. We've been really fortunate to be featured in some major publications like the New York Times and Real Simple magazine, which brought us a ton of new subscribers from all throughout the world.
I was going to mention that. Yeah, you've been.
Go ahead.
No, you've been featured in a lot of different publications.
Yeah, we've been
and also on TV, I think.
Yeah, and we've just been very blessed. I mean, just this is a breath of fresh air, and I don't have a problem if and I do this personally. I should admit this. You're talking about, I'm going to Google 14th anniversary gift ideas, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get 1,001 gift guides of, this is the best gift for, this person in your life who likes X, Y, and Z. They've gotten so specific now. I'm just taking a different approach, which I think is what has garnered a lot of attention from other news outlets, where I'm sharing actual stories and I'm not actually selling anything. I'm just selling the ideas. And I will provide links to vendors, but I'm not receiving any kind of kickback from those vendors.
Right.
I just I don't want to make people better shoppers. I want to make them better gift givers. And I think it's a really important distinction.
That is a very important distinction. Yeah. Because anybody can shop, but not everybody can buy a gift. Because there's something in the word gift. I used to know an acronym, give it freely. I don't remember. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, when we give a gift, That really means something, right?
It can. It doesn't always, right? Sometimes sometimes we all are guilty of treating it more as like a transaction, right? Or just a check the box exercise. And if I leave the listeners with anything, it's kind of my golden rule for gift giving, right? And that's, you want to give gifts that people want to receive over giving gifts that you want to give, right? So your number one priority should be giving someone a gift that they want to receive. That's going to maximize what I call the practical and or emotional value for the gift recipient
Okay.
over giving a gift that makes you as the gift giver happy. And let's get this straight. I don't have any problems with people giving gifts that happen to also make them happy. I just want to make sure the number one priority is giving gifts that someone would want to receive.
So the old adage about give somebody something that you'd want, not necessarily applicable here.
Oh no, I don't subscribe to that, Mike.
Oh, darn. That kayak I was going to get my wife. Yeah, and I think it's such a great resource, your newsletter and your website, until I get my actual first newsletter. But just because, like you said, we kind of go into autopilot mode and maybe don't put a lot of thought into our gifts. And getting your newsletter and going through your website really sparks the creative juices. And maybe that's the kick in the pants we all need to do this better.
Yeah, that's what I needed. And I know that that's what thousands of other people, have benefited from. I had someone reach out to me just last week and they said, thanks for, the newsletter. Just wanted to say I really appreciate it. And then she said, how did she put it? She said, for the first time in my life, I'm actually looking forward to gift giving season. And that was extremely impactful feedback for me.
And yeah, I would imagine, because there comes a point in your life where you're like, oh my God, I'm dreading fill in the blank, probably for me, Christmas, because you feel like you've done it all. Or maybe you feel, when in fact, what we're missing is the creativity in coming up with a gift.
Sometimes that just takes time and proactivity, right? So if you're proactive, that's another one of my tips, is be proactive in your gift giving. And that's what the newsletter is helping you do. Is how many people think about gift giving once a week?
Right.
And I mean, almost no one, right? Maybe
right.
Again, there are some people out there who are just excellent gift givers and they're energized by this stuff, but you and I aren't, right? So that's what the newsletter is helping people do.
And it's not just you and I.
No, it's not. But I'm also just so blessed with some amazing stories that I hope we get a chance to talk about, of just, people demonstrating kindness through gifts.
Absolutely. I mean, if you have some, I would love to hear them.
Oh, I'm ready to go, Mike. All right, you ready?
Do it. Yeah, absolutely. Let's dig in.
Okay. So usually anytime I'm on a podcast, I always get the question, "Oh, can you give us some gift stories?" Of course, that's what I have: gift stories on gift stories on gift stories. And I usually say, "All right, do you want a Hallmark-worthy story? Do you want a practical story, or do you want a fun story, or a Hallmark-worthy gift, a practical gift, or a fun gift?" Right? I added another category just for you in this podcast.
Oh.
It's the kindness category.
Oh, nice.
Let's start there. Right?
All right.
So,
spoiler alert, that's why you're here. To tell those stories. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No worries. So one of the ones that's just so relevant to me, and I want to share this with your audience as well. There's another podcast out there that I was recently a guest on. It's called The Tendrils of Grief. Okay. So the host her name is Susan Ways. And she's someone who lost her husband. I believe that he was in his 40s. She's a mother of two at this time. And she just went through this grieving journey that, she's still very much on. And then a few years ago, she started this podcast that I think is just a fantastic resource. If anyone who's listening is on their own grief journey, after losing someone or feeling like they've lost someone or know someone who's on that journey, I would advise you to take a look at this podcast. I think it's an excellent resource. So I came on to Susan's podcast to talk about stories or gifts to give people when they're grieving. And then she provided me with some stories that I thought were just pure acts of kindness, right? So these are people and examples of people giving gifts that they're expecting nothing in return, right? They're just trying to help someone out who's going through a challenging chapter in their life.
Right.
So right after, one story is that right after Susan lost her husband that year, she came home from, I don't know exactly where she was, but it was around the holidays. And this would be the first holiday that she would spend without her husband and her children without their father. And someone came by their house and decorated their house with Christmas lights.
Oh, how cool.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just so kind and touching that they did that. And that stuck with her throughout the years. Another
Did she ever
example.
find out who it was?
She did. She knew that one, but I think
Okay.
you're going to like the next story. And it's going to go on the vein that you were hinting at about anonymous gift giving. So another thing, amazing thing that happened, just to me, like demonstrates kindness through and through, was she had, I think, a 14-year-old daughter at the time that her husband passed. And someone, they never found out who, started sending her daughter anonymous gifts every month for that year after she lost her father.
Every
Never
month.
found out who this person. Every month. And the daughter would look forward to the gifts, and it was something exciting, something to break kind of the maybe the rut that she was in at times. But I just think that's a pure act of kindness.
That
right?
is. It's so cool.
You want some more?
Yeah, I've got goosebumps.
All right. So this we're turning the page on Susan and the Tendrils of Grief. Again, amazing podcast.
I
Check it out.
will link that in my show notes.
It's fantastic. So I also found this theme within some of the stories that I share of, so I'm a huge fan of group gifts. Okay. So guys like you and I, naturally, without hopefully the help of the Better Gift Coach newsletter, we're not coming up with a ton of ideas on our own, but we know people in our life who are great gift givers.
Yeah.
And when those people open up opportunities for us to join them in a gift for someone that we share in our lives, I think that's an awesome opportunity.
Yeah.
And I love these examples of people, groups of people coming together and crowdsourcing gifts. Okay. So another example was a subscriber of the newsletter submitted this, and she said that when for her father's 60th birthday, in preparation for it, she reached out to people throughout his life. So friends that he grew up with, I think former school teachers, and we're talking about a guy who's 60.
Right.
So his teachers must have been pretty advanced in age, right?
Oh boy.
And she had them all submit just a story about, remembering her father, a fun time that they had with her father, something they remember about her father, qualities they like about him, etc. And then she put this stack of letters in front of him on his 60th birthday, and there were 60 of them. And, he took the time to read through all of these, and it's such a touching story. And it's not only a story about the daughter's kindness and thoughtfulness, it's also a story about the kindness of those people who maybe not have interacted with her father for years, decades, right? Who took the time out of their day to share these stories because, they knew that they would make the father's day in this case, right? And they certainly
Absolutely.
did. Another story, it's a similar one so graduation gifts. We're, in the middle of summer right now. Grad parties are still happening. There's something we experience, especially in the Midwest where we are, every summer. And I always advise people, again, to give the gift that the gift recipient wants to receive. And if you're talking about someone graduating, that's usually money.
Yeah. Cash.
And I have no problem with giving someone cash or check. I think that's a great thing. But another very, very budget friendly, if not free add-on to that gift is this gift I'm about to share, which is a story that another subscriber of the Better Gift Coach newsletter shared, is that her mother, who was a librarian, so valued books in their house and reading, went and reached out to her people throughout her daughter's life. So this is when her daughter was graduating from high school. So
18 years.
60 years hasn't passed, 18 years passed, right? So the teacher's still very much in play.
A little easier to get a hold of those teachers.
Yep. And she put together a book list from each person of must-read books and, recommendations as to why the daughter should read these books. And that's just another example of, a group of people coming together and doing something really kind for someone else. Two more quick stories, and then we can let the conversation
go
from there.
All I care. This is great.
So this is a good one to plan for the holidays coming up. So this was another story that I featured at the end of 2022 near the holidays, where and maybe you can go back to this experience, Mike. I certainly can, of spending that first Christmas with your in-laws and not being with your family for the first time.
Oh yeah.
And that's a stressful experience, right? They have their own traditions. And I think more importantly, you're missing your traditions that you've experienced your entire life.
Yep.
Your own family traditions during the holidays. So what the in-laws did for the person who told this story is they knew that this person comes from a family where every Christmas Eve they get together and watch It's a Wonderful Life movie. And eat ice cream sundaes, I think.
Oh, really? Odd combination, but okay.
So me too. The in-laws recreated that for the gift recipient, where, that's a tradition that they wanted to recreate for her under their own roof, which I thought was extremely kind.
That's very kind.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And then one more I wanted to share with the audience about these are all examples of gifts that people could recreate, anyone listening.
Oh, sure.
But this last one is more practical advice and not a specific story necessarily. But I'm a huge fan of what I call off-calendar gifting. And what I mean by that is, of course, many of us are rightfully so feel obligated to give gifts to people, maybe on their birthday or Christmas or whatever other holiday that's a traditional gift-giving holiday. But there's so many other occasions in people's life where I think a gift is very appropriate that most other people in their life are going to overlook and not give them a gift for.
Oh.
Right? And these are opportunities for the two guys like the two of us who aren't naturally good gift givers, who have a challenge getting our gifts to stand out naturally.
Right.
To really have gifts that stand out. I mean, there's so many occasions. Like I'll name a few that and the purpose I'm sharing
the anniversary of our first date kind of thing.
Sort of. I'll give you one that I think are not necessarily attached to romantic relationships, right? More general for most people in your life. But I just think, again, going back to the topic of kindness, is when you give one of these off-calendar gifts and you're not expected to, or you're not, what's the word I'm looking for? Not required, but feel obligated to do so. I think that truly shows the kindness and the intention of you trying to, add value to the other person's life and make them happy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So a couple of them, adoptions, goodbyes, welcomes, thank yous, pet birthdays. Big fan of pet birthday gifts. No one thinks about that one. Oh yeah. Give someone a gift when they become empty nesters. I think that's a good one.
Oh boy.
Closing of a business, opening of a business. Valentine's Day for non-romantic relationships, I think, are also appropriate in a lot of occasions.
Oh, that's so cool.
This certainly were when we were younger in grade school.
my little shoebox with the slit cut in the top.
Exactly. You remember that. Me too.
Yeah.
But then there's just anniversaries in people's lives, like job anniversary or the anniversary. We go back to the Tendrils of Grief podcast. Like we were talking about how touching it is when everyone gives you gifts right after an important person in your life passes, but no one really thinks to give you a 1-year anniversary gift, right? When you might really be feeling it. Um,
Is that
so
really?
just,
I mean, maybe you don't want to be reminded of that. I don't know. I I'm thinking back. The biggest loss I've had recently was when my mom passed in 2015, and that was a really hard time. I'm going to go listen to her podcast because I went through that for a long time. I don't know if I would want. I don't know. I don't know. It sounds like a great idea.
everyone's journey is different,
Yes.
right? Everyone's grief journey is different. Grieving journey is different. And you know,
I,
I think it goes back to my initial point of, you want to give gifts that people want to receive. If someone is sure that you don't want to receive a gift on the 1-year anniversary, shouldn't give them a gift, right?
yeah.
But what also Susan says is a gift doesn't gift, and I obviously agree with this, comes in so many forms, and the best gifts that I highlight in the newsletter usually aren't things, or at least things that cost money.
Right.
But just giving them a call or sending them a letter and just saying, hey, I'm thinking about you. Or I like the gift of an IOU, just like, hey, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of, your mother passing. I just want to let you know, here's an IOU. Like, I'm ready to hop on the phone or go for a walk or whatever it is. And, we don't even have to talk about your mother. We
Right.
can talk all about your mother if you want, because Susan shared stories about people who, wish they could talk about their loved ones who are departed, but people were kind of awkward about that situation after
Yeah.
happening. Right.
They took my tone there and went, "Ooh, should we talk about that?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you give someone an IOU, I mean, eventually you might be ready to talk about it.
And maybe
right?
they do, but if you were just suggesting, I'm here, I'm willing to listen,
Right.
let's go for a walk, let's walk the dogs, whatever the case may be, making yourself available.
Yeah.
For
Susan
that
calls it
person.
holding space for the other person. Just hold space. And I
Holding
think that's
space.
such a wonderful gift.
It is a wonderful gift, and it doesn't cost a thing.
No, it doesn't.
Perfect. I love all of these ideas. And crowdsourcing gifts. That is a phrase and a concept I had not heard until just now. And I think that's such a cool idea.
Absolutely. And you could be the originator of a crowdsourced gift. You can come up, you can read the newsletter and be like, "Ooh, this is a good one." And I usually put like, "Hey, this is a group gift opportunity." And then you could be the one who reaches out to, your siblings or whoever and said, "Hey, we should go in on this gift together."
Yeah. And by extension, everybody that contributes to that is giving that gift, right?
Yeah.
Wow. That's great. That's awesome. Well, Patrick, I really, really, really appreciate. I could listen to your stories about gifts like all day, but I really do appreciate your gift of your time and willingness to participate in this. And I wish you so much luck with the Better Gift Coach and everything that you've got planned for it.
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate it. And just want to remind the viewers, if you're interested in a 1 minute a week free shortcut to always having awesome gifts well in advance, check out Better Gift Coach at bettergiftcoach.com. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Again, the link will be in the show notes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Patrick. Well, there you go. If you are somebody like myself or like Patrick who has gotten maybe a little lax, a little lazy in your gift giving, and you really want to improve your gift giving, now you know where to go. bettergiftcoach.com. The link is in the show notes there. So what are you waiting for? I love all of Patrick's stories. He has done something that I wish I could have done, and really upped his gift giving game. And the stories that he told about gifts of kindness are absolutely wonderful. So there you go. Also, there will be a note to to Susan Way's podcast. She doesn't know it yet. I might drop her a note. I might not. It might be just a surprise. But if you want to check out her podcast about grief, I highly suggest it as well. Thank you so much for the gift of your time today and listening in. We will be back again next week, but until then, be that person who roots for others, who tells a stranger that they look amazing, and encourages others to believe in themselves and their dreams. I am Mike Rathbun, and you have been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast.